Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show. Today is Monday, May 18th. This is your place for helpful news, commentary, answers to your crypto questions. And today, we're taking a trip to the farm. I'm not talking about a literal farm, although we will talk about a few of them. I'm talking about Family Agriculture Resource Management System. Say that 5 times fast. And then join me in welcoming the founding director. She is an attorney. She is our friend, and now she is yours. To the Rise Up Morning Show, Jillian Hishaw. Jillian, how are you?
Great. Thank you all for having me.
Truly a pleasure. We've been working on it for a while. We talk about farms whenever it is relevant in conversation because we love the work that you do, right, Alex? We never miss an opportunity to plug farms.
Nope.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, heck yeah. And you know, a lot of folks who listen will know you because they'll see you in and out of the comments. You're a regular. Do you want to take a second though and introduce yourself? Tell the folks who you are and what you do.
Yes, so I'm Jillian Hishaw. I am an agricultural attorney, about 23 years in, and founder and owner of Hishaw Law, which focuses on bankruptcy and simple estate planning, and then also Family Agriculture Resource Management Services, abbreviated FARMS. And we also have a new TikTok page at FARMS 30,000 Acres.
FARMS 30,000 Acres. Oh, I didn't have that one. I'm going to have to check it out. Excellent. And if you're listening on TikTok, go ahead and give Jillian a follow. This is her right here. She's joining from her profile. But you said, is it farms with the periods or farms without the periods on TikTok?
I think it's without.
Mm-hmm. And it's without. Farms. Tell me what.
FARMS and then 30,000. The numbers, not the word. Acres.
Okay, good. Because I'll update your little bumper and show it. Oh, it couldn't find this account. Don't worry. We'll fix it and put it in the show notes. Okay. But I have got Jillian's account on the screen so that you can see it. If you want to go to YouTube from podcast land, that way you can find her. And she's got a link tree right here too, so that you can find all the relevant links. Alex, we first met Jillian. Was it, I don't know, how many years ago has it been?
Oh man, it's been a few, right?
Yeah, like 3 or 4,
something like that.
Yeah, it seems like it, and we've gotten to watch a lot of different stuff happen since then. Do you want to talk a little about the work that FARMS does, so people can get a sense of
Sure.
why it might matter?
So we've been in operation since summer of 2013, so nearly 13 years, and we have 3 different program areas. Number 1 is the education legal. Through that education legal program, we've saved about $25 million in farmland assets in and outside of the U.S. And then also the second program is our Farmers Emergency Fund, which we've given out close to $1 million in emergency aid. So 50% of that money has gone to natural disaster relief. So we purchase generators, waters. We also help with covering repairs after the storm or the tornado or whatever, particularly on aging landowners' property. We also, particularly at the height of COVID, were covering funeral expenses for farmers. We recently gave out about $3,500 to a commodity crop farmer here in North Carolina who needed equipment repairs suddenly. We've given out money recently to farmers, ranchers really, that one in particular that's battling cancer. We've also given out money recently for farmers to pay their utility bills because of the data centers increasing utility costs for the farmer. And then, of course, the majority of our aid this year has been going to purchase inputs. And when I say inputs, that's fertilizers, also boxes, tops for the boxes, amendments, things like that. And so Over that span, we have not only worked in the US, but the past 6 years, we've been working in Sierra Leone. So every month, I purchase produce from women farmers in Fondue Village, and then it's donated to a local orphanage there, and we feed about 250 kids there as well. And then we also have a small stipend to cover sanitary products for the young ladies because we've been there since 2019 and the girls have grown up, of course. And then we've also done work in Arima, Trinidad for 3 years consistently. We build cold storage facilities for 2 fishermen and 2 specialty crop farmers. And when I say specialty crop, that's produce. And so we were able to extend the shelf life of their crops from 3 days to 3 weeks to a month. And then we've also done work in Kingston, Jamaica. We've paid the taxes on a farm there. We've done work in Barbados, India, and also our first international country, which was Haiti.
Wow. Okay, I have the update for people in podcast land. It's f.a.r.m.s_30,000 acres. And the website is 30,000, the number, acres.org. My
sorry.
question. Oh,
Sorry.
no, go.
Without the period. Sorry about that.
No. No need to apologize at all. I just want people to be able to find it for you because there's a lot of great content to keep up with. The website has an excellent prompt to get you to sign up for a newsletter that I have found super helpful. I subscribe to like 2 newsletters, and this is one of them. And of course, my question now becomes, what does all this have to do with crypto? Because we are a crypto show. We love highlighting our friends who are doing good work, and you're doing some novel stuff.
Yes. So last year I published Agriculture Blockchain, the ABCs of Agriculture Blockchain and Crypto. It recently won a big book award contest, and it has everything to do with crypto. And so, just for example, look at the data centers. I mean, they're just eating up a lot of rural land, and they need power and they need raw land to fund AI, and all of those types of things. But when it comes to crypto in particular, like I stated in the book, it has a lot to do with currency. So previously, before starting Farms, I worked under the Obama administration in DC under the US Department of Agriculture. And there I learned a lot, of course, but particularly FSA, which is Farm Service Agency, is the lending arm for landowners. And most farmers go to USDA for all of their lending needs. But as the years and decades has went on, a lot of the lending programs just aren't really stretching it as much because with farmers, you need money. It's basically a cash debt career or profession. You need money to plant in the spring and in the fall. And if you don't have lending, then you don't have a crop and you don't have anything to sell. And so where crypto comes in is that it's an alternate lending source for farmers. They can also, use a DAO, which me and Evan discussed last year about just basically having the farmers use it also as a nonprofit source. Also RWAs, I mean, the crux of a farm is literally a real world asset. And so there's so many different things and nuances that they can use crypto for to continue the operation of the farm, especially as the Farm Bill, which I helped write back in 2023, looks definitely different from the House bill that was passed at the end of last month. And so a lot of the conservation programs that I help write on, they have been changed with all of the amendments and things. And so that is also something to consider, is that when it comes to the Farm Bill, it keeps getting basically renewed every 9 months, every 12 months. And we definitely need a new Farm Bill. And within that Farm Bill, we need legislation for Bitcoin and crypto, because there are several farmers that are accepting Bitcoin, for their CSAs. And when I say CSAs, that's subscription agreements. So for example, farmers have subscription agreements where you can buy 1 chicken, 2 eggs, and a bundle of produce every month for $100. Those are CSAs or subscription agreements. And a lot of farmers are accepting Bitcoin and ETH, under those subscription agreements. And so that's sort of how it connects in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Alex,
I just think it's funny because I just got this video yesterday on my Twitter timeline that I found it because the white whale commented on it, just saying like, this is like such a good video. This is like a great piece of the why story to tell about Bitcoin. And the video is just this young woman who was in some foreign country talking about her experience then being over there, and how the story of like, transportable money and accessible money anywhere in the world without, needing to do anything special. Bitcoin is Bitcoin everywhere in the world. And it was amazing. It was an excellent video, right? She talks for like a minute and a half, and it's very easy to understand. No techno babble jargon, no fintech bro gobbledygook, whatever. And Jillian, that's the same feeling that I get when I hear you talk about like why you're interested in it. And I just think it's such a shame that like this story is not the one that gets told louder and to more people about the industry. Like it's really easy to get distracted. And I think this is warranted, just for the record, to get distracted by things like World Liberty, which dominate the news cycle about crypto. That's the thing that most people hear and see. And if I was looking at it for the first time and the only thing I had ever seen was World Liberty, I'd be like, dude, ban the whole thing. That's awful. But just for the record, and here you are as living proof. You've been looking at this for a number of years now. I'm curious if you could kind of give some of your story and your experience being onboarded into crypto from the beginning, and kind of how that's gone for you over the last couple of years, as you've seen a lot of these things that we would look at as being bad, like World Liberty. But then also all the stuff you just mentioned about, why it is the best technology in the world for some of these things that you're looking at.
Yeah, it really has evolved. I basically started with influencers like Calvin Hill that taught me sort of the basics. And then I scooted over to y'all and a few more folks, and I just learned the basics there. Now I sort of have been out of the loop the past 9 months because I've just been swamped with work, with the difference with administrations. But the past 12 months, I've been able to obtain a certification in chain analysis. And then I just was part of the SheFi 16 class cohort.
Yeah, very cool.
And so just those experiences, I've definitely been able to grow and learn, and then go back and update the book and teach my farmers, hey, why don't we try this or that? And so it's definitely a continuous learning cycle as things change and shift. I know that Genius is past and Clarity is possibly up next, but there are a lot of missing holes in that, just particularly that keeps the lights on under my, shifting gears a little bit under my bankruptcy practice. There are a lot of holes still with crypto, just in bankruptcy in general. But it's definitely a nuance that it's holistic. Like it touches so many different areas of law that people, mostly tend to focus on trading and things like that. But it could also be used for, like Alex mentioned, for NGOs for good purposes. Thank you all again for the $153,000 donation from the donor. It's made a world of difference. Farmers are able to, cover their input costs. And again, that's fertilizer. And so it's just made a world of difference in my, small nonprofit. We've been able to purchase over 100,000 pounds of produce this year. And in particular, we were able to purchase 32,500 pounds in March. And in South Carolina, that's where our food bank, and that purchase alone, the block was over two blocks long during the week of people waiting. And and so people are really feeling the pinch. People don't have enough food. I mean, I know dairy farmers in upstate New York that are feeding their kids with Cheerios and cow's milk. And so it really is impactful in the work that, you all have been able to provide, me and support, with the mission.
Absolutely. And we got to shout out friend of the show, the White Whale, who said, hey, looking to make some charitable donations. And Alex stepped right up and said, have I got a deal for you? It was a good pitch and it worked out. There is a follow-up question in the comments. There are a couple of questions, actually. First, I want to highlight this question from Radio Dan. Where would Jillian recommend getting certified in chain analysis? Are you talking about chain analyses?
Yes, chain. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Then give it the pitch and I'll pull it up on screen.
Yes. So it's really great. I was able to learn how you could basically track wallets. So say a scammer stole your keys and you're a bit flustered. Well, you can track that wallet, but it has to be from basically a certified source. So some platform like Coinbase, Qcoin, just all of those types of things. If it's from a non-KYC, then basically it's gone. But if it's a platform that requires KYC, then you could definitely scoot it and basically backtrack through all of the different sources. I'm trying to think of the words this morning, but anyway, you could definitely just backtrack it. And then once you know what platform it's on, because the platform has distinct characters, then that's when you get the authorities involved, and the authorities, will just request a summons from crypto and from Coinbase rather, or crypto.com. And then they can tell the authorities, oh, it's this person that owns this account. And so it's pretty cool.
And you're talking about more like the path to potential recovery or help from law enforcement with the theft, because of course you can track it anywhere it goes, but unless it interacts with any platform that at some point someone had to confirm an identity on, then it can be very difficult. Although I will say that there's an easy plug for the guys over at Groom Lake, because there are some groups that they definitely have some skills in the world of on-chain forensics and analytics, even if these things don't touch a classic or traditionally KYC'd platform. I know they've had some success all over the world with stuff like that. You never know. People leave little teeny tiny breadcrumbs, and I certainly don't know enough to find all that kind of stuff, but these guys do.
Well, and let me plug one more thing too. This is a tweet from Stacy Murr. List of tools Zach XBT uses for his on-chain investigations, and this is what I would recommend. I think Chainalysis is a great start. It's a good credential. Like if you were on LinkedIn and you wanted somebody to take you seriously, the Chainalysis credential is the place to start. But where Chainalysis ends, and like, how are you going to trace transactions put through a mixer? Do you know how to read bubble maps? Do you understand? You know what I mean? Like, I would say this is like the beyond, if you wanted to go to graduate school and get a PhD in this stuff and then be somebody that people, lose sleep over after they steal money on chain. These are the tools that you can look into. And Zach XBT, spelled just like it sounds, is the account you need to know if you want to see a model for what that kind of on-chain sleuthing beyond KYC platforms can,
and I did
can
learn
do.
that. I did learn how to read a mixer and bubble maps and all of those things. So it was very, very useful.
What was the cost of the certification, if you don't mind my asking?
It was around $700.
Okay.
But that was with a discount code.
Yeah. And what about SheFi? That's great, isn't it? The thing I love about SheFi, and I'd be curious to hear about your experience, is the sense of belonging. You know, we're always trying to share education and helpful resources, but I feel like the best part is the community that's fostered. And I see so many people go to bat for them and say, because of SheFi, I have these relationships, not just the knowledge, but like the connections to sincere, real people who I can ask a question or connect with as I learn. Is that your experience too? Do you have other thoughts?
Yes, yes, it was definitely my experience. A lot of the information at the beginning I sort of already knew, but
Sure.
it was a good refresher. But towards the end, I learned a lot. Still learning because Maggie Love is the founder, and so after you finish the SheFi, then you can still participate and get to know the other cohorts and members of the group. And so it's definitely going strong. And she just started today, I think, her inner circle. So yeah, it's definitely a really great experience and good networking opportunity.
Shout out to Maggie. We got to see her briefly in Miami at Consensus. She was there with the baby's first Consensus, and she's a monster.
Yeah,
I didn't know. 16, man. They're I feel like I blinked and they were however many more I'm trying to remember what the first cohort was when I started to pay attention, but
like 7 or 8 or something.
It's been a while. Yeah.
It's been awesome to see it evolve. As a guy who really yearns for some cohort based learning, I am impressed and inspired by what they do. We had another question, Jillian, coming in from Vonda, and this might be too technical a question, might be a better question for like Google or something, but I'd like you to get at what's beneath it. It sounds like Vonda has got some farming knowledge. She wanted to know, back to the FSDA. You talked about how a lot of loans for farmers come from the government through FSDA. And she was curious, like, if that covers non-standard growing, like controlled environment agriculture, and was just generally, I'd like you to open this up to say, like, what are the limits of the current system? And how do you think crypto can help address problems of equity or access specifically? Like what you mentioned, lending and borrowing. Can you talk about the limits of the current system, how the process works, and then how you envision we might be able to expand the opportunity that's available to people through something like crypto, blockchain?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so yes, there are indoor lending programs and grant programs for indoor farms. It's quite easy to qualify as a farmer, particularly about in 2015, 2017, they extended it to urban farms. Now, to me, there's no such thing as an urban farm. There's only rural farming. Now, there's a gardener, but there's
I was
no
going to say,
such thing.
what are they implying by urban farm? What is that supposed to mean? Just
basically, a lot of the rural farmers have a riff now in some aspects with, quote, urban farmers, which are just glorified, they're gardeners. And so there's a difference. And a lot of grant program funding, lending are going to these urban outfits and ciphering away from true rural farmers. And so, that is, another chapter for another day. But I do want to emphasize that farms we only work in rural communities. We don't work in urban. But the issue is that it's been able to allow USDA to inflate their numbers as opposed to, to what was the true number of farmers, because we lose 175 acres an hour in this country, due to development. And, worldwide, we lose over 2,000 hectares, which is 2.2 acres equivalent to our 1 acre. And so an hour. And so the rate of land and agriculture that is being lost rapidly is just astonishing. And if it's not due to desertification and erosion, then it's due in this country to development. And so what USDA has done is that, 8 years ago, you're a farmer. You can qualify as a farmer if you make as little as $2,000 a year. I mean, I could be a farmer. And so, you can, sell the produce that you plant in your, pots at your apartment to become a farmer these days. I mean, it's just so fast and cheap. And that's because, it's able to pad their numbers regarding who is a farmer. But the reality of the situation is that, Bill Gates, also the Walton family, I mean, they own a large swath of land. Just look at Jeff Bezos. I mean, I know at one point he owned 30% of East Texas. And so it is a problem. And the fact that they're allowing gardeners to become farmers is, to me, just problematic. And so that's again where crypto comes in as a alternate lending source to farmers without all of the discrimination. Because I just wrapped up a 4-year litigation pro bono against the USDA and the Department of Justice and the 3 national banking associations and a few other folks. And it was a 4-year haul from 2021 to 2024, where I sued for illegal foreclosures of farms. And so it all had to do with predatory lending. And so that's why I really got into the lending aspect of Bitcoin and crypto and all of those types of things, because there needs to be another lending source that doesn't discriminate. And we may have anti-discrimination laws on the books, but they're not being enforced. And so that's why I definitely love what crypto could do, but quite concerned rather the way things are moving within DeFi and TradFi, basically gobbling up what used to be, an organic way for farmers to fund their operation, because farmers have been using Bitcoin for years. But now, as TradFi, sinks their teeth in, it is quite concerning, of them tracking the farmers' use of the currency and just cutting them off at the knees if they don't like what they post on TikTok or wherever is a concern.
That's such a good just highlight of one of the reasons. I mean, when you hear about I think a lot of people might also be able to associate, this type of why with the Canadian truckers through the protest being able to switch over to Bitcoin when they were being cut off from their banks. And I mean, just, under or unbanked people. I mean, that's the oldest mission statement in the book, right? Serving the unbanked. That was Cardano's whole thing. How that went. But that is just, it's such an easy thing to understand and wrap your head around, that hey, heard of banks? They're not great for X, Y, and Z reasons, whatever. I'm Jillian, I have no doubt that you could hold up a million trillion different examples of a bank taking advantage of someone. I know we've talked about specifics around predatory lending and, ways and people who don't know what they don't know. It's very hard to get around some of those, or maybe you're backed straight into a corner and you're faced with a contract like this and the terms are bad, but there's no alternative. You don't necessarily see a way out. So you sign one of these things and all of a sudden you're locked in. I mean, some of the interest rates by themselves that you've told me about having seen on people's loans are just absolutely obscene. But something like an on-chain, a decentralized borrowing and lending protocol, or through a DAO, the ability, a group like Octon. Octon is not, making you sign a 800% plus interest rate on some crazy loan in order to, allocate funds to a public goods project. How has your experience then been now being in here? Has that been a thing that you've seen any farmers actually used, or is there something that's still standing in the way between, being able to get some of this funding or some of these different lending services to farmers? Or where are we at in terms of you being able to actually recommend and use decentralized tools for borrowing and lending?
So a lot of Middle to corporate farms use Bitcoin, and they've been using it for years, but I primarily deal with aging farmers, and the average age of my farmer is 85, 90. So
Wow.
it's the technology piece. So I try to do it for them. Like I created a MVP where it's a website where you just upload your loan document or contract, and then the AI scans it and it tells you if there's predatory lending terms. And so that can be, reached at loan-scan.com or on my law website. But it's free, it's available to the public. And like you had mentioned, under my law practice, I just filed a case this year and my client's interest rate was 256%. I've had other people that are over 600% in interest on these loans. And so, it's definitely predatory, but because the budget for the Consumer Protection Bureau has been cut drastically, a lot of people are just being forced to file bankruptcy, and do other alternate things. And so it's definitely something that needs to be, proactive before you sign these contracts or, these loan agreements. Definitely, read the fine print because, a lot of people, and this person, they're not 80. There's a lot of young people. I mean, most of the people that I've encountered that sign these contracts are in their 20s, actually Gen Z. And so, there is a distinction, that yes, I'm dealing with an older population in my nonprofit, but under the bankruptcy practice, I'm seeing a lot of young people also being taken advantage of in different ways. And so the loans that are through USDA are not at 600%. So like I said, I'm focusing on my bankruptcy practice, and these are predatory lenders. And so a lot of these lenders are owned by they're tribal banks that are, offering, unfortunately, 800%, 600% loans. And that's what I'm seeing with my bankruptcy practice, not USDA, not under the FARMS umbrella, but just general bankruptcy.
Evan, I'm reminded of, we had a very interesting meeting once with a guy who worked also he and his dad were in baseball, specifically on the scouting side.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he had become really concerned with and started to pivot to do some work in was this idea of the way that young boys are scouted into baseball and immediately made to sign a very tantalizing looking financial agreement to give them a shot at making an MLB team, and then basically just owing everything that they have forever to whoever set them up with the scout and with the contract, to the point where then if anything happens, because these kids get scouted when they're 12, and then that's a long time to be injured before something starts, but there's no he was talking there's no escape for someone who gets injured and all of a sudden you're something prevents you from being able to play. You still owe all this money forever. But man, that signing bonus looked really good to a kid in poverty. And he was just talking about talent scouts from the US going down to the Dominican Republic and finding someone promising, dangling a wad of cash in front of them, getting them to sign one of these things that, signs over rights to their image, to their name, to anything that could be made money off of those kids forever. It just makes me think of the same thing. I can only imagine that basically every industry has some sort of, hyper predatory, either lending or contracting or just that it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean the similar situation that you just described happened to Stevie Wonder, unfortunately, and so it is just rampant. It's a problem, And because there's now less oversight, because the Consumer Protection Bureau has been gutted, it's gotten worse over the past 16 months that I'm seeing. I mean, and even let's shift a bit to bankruptcy. Even there's 6 types of bankruptcy. So there's Chapter 9 for municipalities like a county or a city. Chapter 15 for foreign corporations like Alibaba, and then there's Chapter 11 for corporations like Walmart, Amazon, and then there's 12 for farmers, and 13 if you don't qualify for 7, you make too much money, you want to stop the foreclosure of your house. And then of course most people know bankruptcy is being in Chapter 7. For medical debt, you file it in May, it's the debt is written off by August, September. But going back to Chapter 11, I'm working on a book which sort of was finished in 2020 with Northeastern Law School in Boston on Chapter 11 filings. Chapter 11 filings are up 46% this year, and we're not even halfway through the year. And farmers are holding 624 billion in debt collectively this year alone, you see. Jesus. And since February 28th, since the start of the war has happened, the input costs have just tripled, quadrupled. And so that small tomato box, in January cost 85 cents, but now it costs $3.25 because boxes and tops, are made through petroleum. And so these are things, I know we all hear fertilizer. I mean, in January, my farmers were clocking, prices at 400, 450 per ton. Now it's 750 to 1,000 per ton. And even the 40-pound watermelon boxes that you see in Walmart, those were going for around $40 to $50 in January, beginning of February. Now they're 100 to 120, for those boxes. And so these are the things that we need to consider, because the thing is that Feeding America food banks, they don't cover, the packaging. So a lot of the farmers, they donate, but they don't cover the packaging. And so even when they donate to Feeding America, they have to pay for the boxes and the tops. And so they're even, double out of money. And so that's where FARMS comes in, because we work with these food banks for 13 years, and we cover the purchasing of the produce and, the packaging and all of those things. But I used to pay for a tractor trailer of potatoes, and, my cost has tripled. And so I'm unable to feed as many people. I'm unable to feed at least 50 to 60% less people the past 18 months. And so it has taken a toll even on our programming.
I'm glad you said that, because I've never once in my entire life considered the cost of packaging in any of this, or the production of that kind of stuff. And now I'm just thinking about, just like taking a mental trip through all of the different places I've seen different kinds of packaging on food, realizing I've literally never thought about that. That's absolutely insane. I mean, just, in addition to the cost of food itself going up, and then not to mention the cost of transporting the food, but then also the packaging for all of it. I mean, there's so many pieces you just don't think about.
Yeah. And so it's just gotten very hard. A lot of the farmers aren't planting, which is a concern, because in the fall, I'm concerned, what's going to be left on the shelf here. Because if farmers can't afford to plant food, what are we going to purchase? What are we going to eat? And so these, are things to consider as the year moves on. I've been encouraging people to buy seed, to start, just planting in pots and, things like that, or support local farmers that have been able to afford to plant, because the critical time of year is definitely the spring. The spring crop is more important than the fall crop, because the spring crop will allow them to sell a crop to get over the hump to plant for the fall. But if they don't have any money in the spring, and that's why it's hit the farmers so hard, because this happened right before, planting season. And so, if it had happened, let's say in July, it would be, maybe a little bit better, because the farmers would have been able to plant for the spring and have, the crop in the ground. Now, the war doesn't impact livestock ranchers. My livestock ranchers have not been as impacted as produce farmers.
Can you, I was just thinking about the, wow, you ever have that feeling where you have
Nope.
like such a firm hold on
Never.
the train of thought and then you can just like feel it disappear?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to save you from yourself.
Yeah, save me from myself while
I'm going to first invite the audience.
cover my thought.
If you've got a question or a suggestion or something for Jillian before she goes, she said she needed to stop at the top of the hour. And so we will respect that and let her get back to this important work. We still have some time with her, and we would love to hear from you. Lots of reactions in the comments, Jillian, to, for example, the average age of the farmers that you're working with. People are amazed that these folks are octa and nonagenarians, at the different kinds of injustices they face. And I really would like to know, obviously people will go to 30,000acres.org. They will donate. They will sign up for the newsletter. They will follow you on TikTok. I'll put the links up. Don't worry. All those are great ways to support. But I'm curious, I know you're working with Alex regularly on this. How can we in crypto take the next steps? It seems like, we've talked a little about like the ideology of how maybe putting a deed on chain could help transfer it or ensure that it's owned by you and then passed to your family. And we've talked about loans, but I'm curious, are there any particular, we mentioned Octant. Alex, I don't know, have you guys explored getting on a call with Michelle and setting up some kind of apply to get a loan direct from this, or a vault that covers interest payments? What's the state of that, or what other specific tools are you looking at? Because I feel like this is a story that can become so real, and that somebody like you, Jillian, who is in fact a legal practitioner, could be the kind of person who could help some of this stuff go from it's experimental and theoretical to, oh yeah, there is a legal process for tokenizing and passing on a land deed. What are the next practical steps?
It's just from my side, it's in the cards for sure. And I primarily started thinking about it after DeFi United, honestly, just because of how aggressively and how fast all of that money was pooled together from people who could afford to contribute to help, those protocols recover from that exploit, and all of the people who were affected by those. I think, some sort of public, this is right up Octant's alley. So I would definitely like to sit down with them at some point and talk about, being able to set up something. It seemed it would be such an easy, good publicity campaign to run contributions on chain to farm. I was even going to approach it not from the direction of borrowing and lending, although you could absolutely do that. But even also just through a fund that people can donate to.
Yeah, and Jillian, am I right, Vonda asks here, doesn't a deed on chain bypass the new property tax rules? My understanding is that there's really no legal certainty, clarity, protection for any of this yet. I might have a deed on chain, but no court is going to be like, good, your deed is on chain, that's your deed. That we still need more people to experiment with this, and for there to be more testing of it before it can be standardized into actual policy. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'll just touch on it briefly.
Please.
But I have drafted legislation starting last fall regarding this very thing, because I'm quite concerned with deeds being on chain and all of these types of things. You're basically, looking at the electronic version of deed theft potentially. So it is quite concerning and how it's moving so fast. So definitely would love to come back on and, just discuss that in particularly, because it is a concern. Yeah, it is a concern. But yeah, definitely, things need to be regulated. I mean, just because you have a deed on chain, that no. The courts don't, the courts, trust me, the courts don't look at on-chain anything. Like I've had, trustees that they don't even know what Coinbase is, and they thought that Zelle was equivalent to, a bank account. And so the trustee and the judges, they really don't, they're not knowledgeable when it comes to crypto and blockchain and things like that. And so if you are sued and you go into court and you're like, oh, I have a deed on chain, that won't fly. I could tell you that right now. It won't fly. And so, there's case law out there. Like there was a company called, I think, Tash Technology, that they had to file a Chapter 11 bankruptcy a year or two ago, and they paid $3,000 in Bitcoin to a sales rep for commission. And in that bankruptcy, they treated Bitcoin as pork bellies or, a security. And so these are things that the bankruptcy courts are dealing with. And they really, went back and forth with, well, how do we do this? And they kept this sales rep's commission, as part of the bankruptcy. And so that's another thing, like, you're going on these sites and buying these deeds and all of these things, but a lot of these companies are going bankrupt, within 24 to 36 months. And so that, is another concern. I mean, I know we have the FTX scandal and, all of those types of examples, but the bankruptcy court will take, what you have, and to pay their creditors. And so, that's another thing to consider as, these laws are moving forward and being passed with clarity and genius and all these. I see gaping holes when it comes to consumer protection from the bankruptcy standpoint, as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of the focus that we've seen make it into legislation as it stands, or even just in the conversations, is I think really limited in scope, and it just demonstrates illiteracy on behalf of lawmakers with regards to these things that they're creating legislation rules about, to have, like you said, just completely forgotten huge, gigantic pieces. I mean, you and I have talked about some of those gaps. I know you're working on them. We don't have to get into them right now, but I think we should definitely, when we get there, have like a show dedicated to some of the policy that you have been shaping and how you're looking at plugging some of those holes. Because I mean, quite plainly, if you know 2 or 3 things about this kind of stuff, if you go start asking questions about what's in Genius and what's in Clarity, you realize exactly why those bills were written. Which, not to soapbox for too long, but that's exactly what we are consistently talking about. Genius is for corporations to make more money with a new thing. They don't care about anything else. It's just big companies make more money using a stable coin, and then Clarity just makes sure that we all have to use their shit instead of whatever we actually want to use. That's quite literally the whole point. So of course they create so many problems. And I think most of that just comes down to the fact that they are very focused on what they're always focused on, which is making money for themselves and their friends. Although I do have to say, Evan, I don't know if you saw this clip, and it really just tugs at the heartstrings, but good old Mike Johnson just talking about how it is really hard out there on a congressperson's salary. They only make a couple $100,000 a year, and they're really struggling. So we have to let them continue to insider trade. I thought that was a joke or AI or satire or an SNL skit, but he really is that stupid.
Jillian, I have one last question here from Bearded, who wants to know if you practice law throughout the USA, or if not, is there a law firm or legal resources for farmers like Bearded who might be in California, or farmers, beyond the US who are in Saskatchewan or West Africa, whatever, that you would recommend?
And I'll tie in one more question into that, because I remembered what I was going to say earlier. Shout out Solemn. It was a question just about someone else who's maybe interested in, like you mentioned, you've advised people to buy seeds, so Obviously, it really depends where you live, what agricultural zone you're in. Any like just quick tips or advice for someone who's like, hey, I have a desire to buy something, grow something. How would you get started from like nothing if you were concerned about sustainability and what you're able to do as an individual?
Oh yeah, definitely buy heritage seeds, stay away from GMO seeds. So heritage seeds is the way to go. And you could just Google heritage seed vendor and, a list will pop up in your area. And then definitely be leery about the type of amendment or soil, that you're using. You don't want to buy a lot of, the type of soil in Home Depot or whatever. Definitely read the label. I mean, you can go to Home Depot, but read the label. Even if it says organic, a lot of that is just for marketing purposes. And so read the label before you buy your soil or amendment. And then chicken manure, a lot of the farmers have used chicken manure forever. So you can always try to buy from your local poultry farmer, chicken manure as a, alternate organic resource. And just make sure that you're buying from a poultry grower that is organic, and not factory driven, like Tyson.
Got it.
And then in terms of bearded, so with the legal services, I practice in North Carolina and Wyoming, but licensed in federal, courts like DC, Nashville, all of this. But we've sort of moved away from the legal services with farms in that I will give you money to hire an attorney, but taking on cases it just sort of stretched me thin with the 4-year litigation because that was pro bono. And so, I do have to pay bills. So just focused on bankruptcy right now, which, I'm in North Carolina and Wyoming. So I do chapter 7s and 13s, and that's what my page is primarily focused on is bankruptcy and simple estate planning. But we can give you like $1,000, $1,500 to hire an attorney in California, which we've done before for farmers in California.
Jillian, do you have any final thoughts or asks for the audience before we say goodbye for now?
Definitely use the loan scan tool. Also use there's so many free resources that I've made available. You can just click the link tree in my bio and there's just a list. And then also if you want to learn more about how agriculture and blockchain and crypto intersect, then you can purchase the book here and it's on cryptoland.esq. But again, that's all in my link tree.
That is linktree/Jillian_Hishaw and at attorney Jillian Hishaw on TikTok or at f.a.r.m.s_30,000 acres. 30,000 acres is what you need to remember. Jillian Hishaw is who you need to know. And we are so glad that you made time. Thank you for being a friend of the show and for your work. Until we see you again.
Much. Thank you so much. Have a good morning.
You too. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
What a great conversation with a great friend. I really am grateful to Jillian for her work. And Alex, dude, thank you because I know you've been helping her out. We really love what they do at FARMS.
Yeah, it's such an easy to understand model for a charity. And then just the fact that in addition to doing, I mean, as if that's not enough to run a nonprofit and everything else that she does and how much of it ends up being like pro bono or mostly donated or subsidized by donations that she's also raising. It's ridiculous. It's a giant machine and not very many people are fighting it. But she's one of them.
Yeah. Thank you for your time and attention, everybody. We've still got a couple of minutes of Q&A left. If you asked a question earlier and we didn't get to it, or we said, hey, check back in a couple of minutes, this is your time. It's a crypto question. For example, I did see a question coming through. Total beginner wants to know, what cold storage wallet you would recommend, which gives me an opportunity to tell you that Rise Up is powered by our official cold storage sponsor. I'm talking about Arculus. Arculus creates incredible, easy to use card type wallets. The best cold wallet for you is going to be one from a legitimate company like Arculus that you find easy to use consistently well, and which supports the networks and tokens you want to use. In the past, Alex and I have used Ledger devices, Trezor devices. We've played with the Tangem. We've played with the Elipal and the Decent, and you name it. I've even got wallet companies sending me their new products like this S-Access wallet. It is most important that the wallet is from a legit company, that it supports the networks and tokens you want to use, and that you find it easy to use well. I recommend you jump into a community like community.rumshq.com. It is a great, safe place to ask questions, to find a YouTube video that'll show you how different wallets work, or for you to say, hey, Evan said networks and tokens I use. What does he mean by networks? Or where do I find that information? Those people are going to help you when you have follow-up questions. And by those people, I mean me and Alex and Will and all the faceless many over at Rise Up. We'd love to see you there. Alex, do you have other tips, tricks, suggestions? Obviously, we love Arculus, but we just want you to find cold storage that works for you.
Yeah, and I think in general, I mean, you know, if you're asking that question, then you're heading in the right direction. I think that an unbelievably important skill to learn if you're interested in all of this crypto stuff is self-custody. And it can take a bunch of forms, right? Like self-custody counts whether it's hot storage or cold storage. But, you know, as you move down the spectrum of, you know, more and more and more secure, but also the burden of responsibility grows as you go, you know, that direction as well. They're good skills to learn. The only other advice I would say is don't rush. It's very easy to get terrified by less than literate people trying to fearmonger you into something specific. It's not like an emergency, but you should learn it. Just recognize that it's possible that a mistake gets made. So, you know, don't feel like you have to jump into full self-custody before you feel like you're ready for it. You know, get used to the idea of sending transactions, get used to the idea of checking balances and, you know, keeping tabs on what's in there. Get used to the idea of withdrawing something from it. You know, if you get to the point where you would like to sell something that you're holding in cold storage, you know, just kind of familiarize yourself with the whole thing. Getting information from a blockchain explorer, I still think that's the most important skill, but lots to learn. Don't feel like you have to rush.
I was a little shady to chain analysis earlier, and Jillian put me in my place. Did you hear that? She was like, actually, they do teach you how to do all. I will admit, I was not familiar with your game chain analysis. I just am super skeptical of anybody who's like, let me pay you and I will give you a credential. They've
been really doing this for a long time.
Of course they have. They're great, but you know, I don't know. I have
you and I both know that all it takes for a credential to become worthwhile is to just make it up and offer it, and then wait until, you know, colloquial acceptism of the thing that you're offering becomes more and more of a thing, and all of a sudden it's a certification that matters.
Hey man, colloquial acceptism. If you can understand somebody well enough to correct them, you can understand somebody well enough not to. So nice wordplay there. That's all I'm going to say.
You know, sometimes you just have to make up a word, but in that instance, I think that everyone knows what I meant.
What's the website or community again? It is the link in our bio. Wherever you are, whenever you listen, or just remember community.rums, R-U-M-S, like Rise Up Morning Show, HQ, headquarters.com. community.rumshq.com. And if you're looking for the Arculus website, it's getarculus.com. You can also find them on socials at This Is Arculus. They are one of the few wallet companies that will go where you are and directly sell you their product right in a social shopping experience. They've got a great TikTok store. And whether you buy online, their website, or their store on TikTok, you can use the code ARCURUMS10 to get 10% off. We've even got the co-branded wallet in pre-orders now. Everybody's sick of hearing me say it, but I can't wait until we got a purple wallet with Alex and Evan and Will on it. Rise Up Morning Show branding, just so you can have a fun collectible from the show while you keep your assets safe. So good question. And speaking of keeping safe, Alex, I want to know, have you seen the absolute barrage of posting about oil reserve tokens? dude.
I mean, no more than usual. I feel like I've been seeing those farting around for a while.
I feel like there's a coordinated effort around a couple of tokens. I want to shout out the username is escaping me. I'm so sorry. It's a truth seeker. It's not it's me, your dad. I saw them earlier. It's one of our friends on TikTok sent me this, and I'm not logged into TikTok on my desktop, so I can't see the videos you sent me, but I pulled up a couple. I just want you to know, if you're watching this show, and you see an influencer on Facebook, TikTok, everywhere knows that you're interested in crypto content, but it doesn't know what's helpful to serve you. And you're going to see some absolute dingus. Could be this person, could be someone else, telling you that Xi Jinping is going to announce the Chinese oil reserve token, whatever, and they're going to send you to Dex Screener or, some other stupid meme coin launchpad to buy a token that is tied to it. They're going to tell you it's only got $1 million market cap. They're going to tell you it's in Trump's crypto wallet. I don't care what they tell you, my friend. You got to run from that. I don't care if it's Chinese oil reserve, if it's American oil reserve, if it's the US oil reserve token. These are meme tokens. They are meme tokens. There is no tokenized oil reserve that you are early to. If you want to trade oil futures, you got to be a level 3 crypto user and go on.
If there was, it wouldn't be launched on pump.fund.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
Just remember that wallets whose addresses are publicly known can be sent anything from anyone at any time.
That's exactly right.
That was the old school meme shill. Vitalik holds it. It's like, he doesn't even know that he holds it. He holds it because one of his public addresses is very well known, and people just send it to him so they can say that Vitalik holds it. The same thing is true with any of these Trump-related addresses that you can find on Arkham or whatever. You can send it your pile of crap, then you can launch the thing, then you can say, look at this, they hold it, and then you can lie and grift people. Lie to and grift people.
Yeah, and let me just say, if you're one of these creators and somebody is sending you our video saying, hey, listen to these guys, they're crapping on our token, we see
you're goddamn right.
And just so you know, you're breaking like 3 different laws right now. When you make a video to try and deceive all these people to buying the token that you launched, and we're just not standing for it anymore. Okay, we're over it. We've got lots of resources in the community. If you've been victimized by a token like this, by a creator like this, about how you can report those crimes, because they are crimes, and we're just done.
It's not even that hard. It's not that hard to just not be a piece of shit.
Yeah,
and not be a criminal.
This reminds me though, Alex. We're always saying, do you know how much money we could make if we were willing to do just a little bit of crime?
Yep.
But are we gonna? No, it's not worth it.
I mean,
not worth
it. You can even sit somebody down and inform them point blank that something they're doing is illegal, and they can sit there and be like, "Wow, I didn't know that," and then they just go right back to doing the thing, go back to their house and continue breaking the law. It's incredible. If you see someone doing a thing with crypto or advertising a crypto to you and you think, man, this feels weird. This feels like it should be illegal. It probably is. And there's just nobody looking for them, because this SEC's full mission statement is heads down, ignore everything. That's basically all they're doing.
It's we'll work on it. We got a great follow-up from Solom, who mentions that Arculus or somebody should create a feature and upgrade so that wallets don't just accept tokens because somebody sent it. Alex, can you explain to our friends why that is not a feature on crypto wallets, though many people would like it?
Well, I'll tell you, I have personally been wishing that this was a thing literally since my first year in crypto, getting sent something I didn't want, and then finding out what dusting was. It would be so cool if there was just a reject incoming transactions filter that you could put on. I don't think I know enough technically to say specifically why it is not a thing or doesn't work, other than to say that it's just unfortunately not how it works. But are you about to tell me? Because I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing that makes blockchains great is the same thing that prevents us from doing this. Okay, the blockchain, we've talked about this before, it's a public ledger, it's open. Anybody, anywhere can send assets or interact with an address they know. The wallet is just a way to show you a window into what already exists on that ledger. So a wallet doesn't make decisions for you. The transaction, it's already written to the blockchain. In order to filter or escrow an incoming transaction, there would have to be an intermediary. Some powerful person, government, corporation would have to have the permission to sit in the middle and control what reaches you, which now turns that blockchain into a closed system, like a bank, like a payment processor, like a government, like a custodian. So what I would recommend to all our wallet company provider friends listening is like a whitelist, blacklist feature where the token isn't prevented from being sent because, you know, we want to use a free and open permissionless blockchain, but where you have the ability to approve what is shown to you, you can filter it out. I think some wallets have good-ish features for that, but we have a long way to go. I also think it'd be nice to have a wallet that allowed you to opt in to an escrow sort of service where, go ahead.
That's I guess what I've just always imagined. Like it would have to be an opt-in kind of a thing, because you could have it run by a smart contract that, you know, you just like would update from your side when you want your wallet to be closed versus not closed, or to only allow certain things. Actually, we just talked about that in Consensus. Who was talking about that? Like the ability to, you know, with regards to on-chain security specifically, framed around all of these exploits that are happening, being able to, like with a bank account, you know, I only want to be able to transfer money to this wallet, this wallet, this wallet, and this wallet. And then like you would have to, you know, go through and add a new one. And it would take however many days for it to approve automatically, to prevent like someone from just getting your key, adding their own wallet as a withdraw destination, and then being able to immediately do it. You'd have at least like time to react and send the funds out of that wallet into one of your already approved ones. That's what like where my head always goes.
Yeah, I like that idea. Like a wallet, a wallet that allows you to create a smart contract wallet. You know, click a button to create a filter. I'd call it a filter wallet or something like that. And it would receive all your transactions. And then you could go through and just like click with a checkbox the ones you want to. Of course, you'd have to pay a gas fee, because if it was truly on chain and you would want it to be truly on chain, then it would have to send it, reassign it to another address. But I don't know. They would have to do it right. I would be really skeptical of anybody else controlling that wallet, escrowing it for me, unless they were, I don't know. I could see a Coinbase style intermediary doing that. But it's an area ripe for innovation. So don't buy crappy oil reserve tokens. They're not going to tokenize oil that way. And then wallet companies, let's get some innovation. Alex, what else am I missing in the comments in the chat?
Well, just confirming that when I'm talking about people talking about tokens that they wish that you would buy, I am not talking about Bitcoin. I'm not as worried about Bitcoin as I am pumped out fun shitters that someone tries to lie to you and tell you is a real token that gives you whatever they say it's going to give you. Lots of questions about what crypto is worth buying right now. I mean, I have to say, I was just yelling at Will this morning because the whole market corrected down, except for frickin' Hype. And he sent me an all caps text that just said, you have the patience of a toddler in a candy store. And I said, it's my Hype and I want it now. So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for, hopefully, Hype to take a frickin' breather at some point. But
up 11.6% on the 7-day.
Yeah.
In a world where Bitcoin is down 4.5%, ETH is down 8%. Yeah, it just won't chill. Solana is also actually kind of doing that that same sort of thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, excuse me. Tron is what I'm looking at here. Look at that. Look at that Tron chart.
Yeah, just creeping.
In the Hype chart. Bam. You know, we didn't really cover it much on the show. We touched it one time, I think, on After Dark about how now Hyperliquid is shifting to use primarily USDC as deployed by Coinbase to be the primary stablecoin on its ledger. Do you remember when Hype was like, hey, we want to do our own stablecoin and we're going to accept submissions from people? Give us your best proposal. And they went with USDH, which was like incubated from the Hyperliquid ecosystem. And there was so much news around that. There was so much excitement around that. Everyone was like, this is going to be a huge stable coin. And people just didn't want to use it. They were like, no, we'll use USDC. Thanks. And now USDC has quietly become the dominant. I think quietly.
Oh my God, it's been everywhere.
Yeah. But we haven't talked about it a ton. And are you really anywhere until you're on Rise Up? On this fake radio show, man. Yeah,
crazy. Saw that. Do you want to? So, Coinbase basically just has become the I don't know what's the term for what role they've assumed default issuer.
They're the deployer, basically the de facto deployer of reserve liquidity. Almost everything is going to settle to USDC because that's what people want. Or USDT, some kind of stable coin. And that is the de facto stable coin on Hyperliquid's platform. So they're going to make a ton of money on fees as people swap in and out. As Hyperliquid says, we need more. No problem, we'll front you. I'm not exactly sure on all the different ways they'll make money because of that.
Well,
but increased usage.
I mean, increased usage and whatever translates to circle revenue, and
that's right.
Very significant chunk of that goes straight to Coinbase.
Actually, that's something I wanted to touch, because the other day somebody was talking about investing and what tokens are you investing in? And I made the point about investing in stablecoins, and they were like, how can you invest in Tether? The price doesn't change. And I want everyone to understand that this concept of velocity makes stablecoin issuers and the people who provide liquidity with them a tremendous amount of money. What the dollar is probably one of the better monetary inventions of the last, however many years, because it gave people access to like a unit of value that reflected the might of the world's dominant empire. If the Roman Empire had a tool as great as printing money like dollars quickly, cheaply, and getting them into the hands of people, then it would have been able to advance the strength of its empire more. One of the reasons our empire is so strong is because we've been able to distribute these US dollar units to people and to create demand for them. Stablecoins increased a number of desirable qualities about the dollar, including its velocity. There are people all over the world who want dollars but don't have a bank down the street and don't have a means to get physical or digital dollars. Stablecoins make it possible for anyone with an internet connection to get a dollar, to turn their currency into a dollar. And so they increase the velocity of this dollar, which increases the might of the US empire. And when I say velocity, I mean, if I spend $1 at my local garden center here in Memphis to buy some heritage seeds, that dollar might sit in their till for weeks. They might take it to the bank on a Friday. It might sit in the bank for weeks. But if I take $1, put it in my bank, send it to Coinbase, turn it into USDC, and then take it to Hyperliquid, I or someone else might make 100 trades. I might be able to take out a loan on that USDC. I might be able to send it to a friend. I might be able to deposit it and earn interest on it, let other people use it to trade in and out of different assets. All of a sudden, that dollar is doing a lot more. It's moving faster. It has velocity because it's not constrained by its physical nature anymore. And because it's a token on a blockchain, it's also not constrained by its digital nature. A digital dollar can only be issued by certain issuers of credit, certain licensed banks, and can only move within their approved ecosystems. Often Visa, MasterCard, Amex, all the people who give that money velocity, they take a big cut. When the cut is reduced, when the friction is reduced, when it's a permissionless dollar, it can move a lot more and it can generate more value for more people. So you can earn higher interest rates on an asset as stable as the dollar, deeply, deeply liquid, more so than, probably any given bank's deposits. That is what makes it an investable asset. You can earn a return by providing liquidity, by loaning, maybe to farmers in your community, and so on and so forth, or just using the dollar to do more things more quickly. You have a thought to add to that? I didn't mean to make it such a rant, but it's clear to me that people don't see stable coins as investable as Ether, Hyper, Solana, or something because they don't necessarily appreciate in value. You could do Forex with them, swap them for euros. But I want people to understand that.
So are you good for a slight pivot here?
If you don't want to answer my question, of course.
I don't have anything to add.
Pivot me.
I'm back and forth with some stuff in the comments, and I'm like asking purposely leading questions, trying to get us to arrive at the point that I want us to get to, but it's taking a minute. And now TikTok comments are not the best place to have a conversation. So I'm becoming increasingly more concerned with some shill lines being used for specific cryptocurrencies that may or may not have some legitimate value or may be legitimately worth people taking a look at for a whole myriad of reasons. And some of these things are integrations with federally regulated or like traditional payment systems, rails, councils, compliance standards. This kind of stuff happens in crypto all the time. And I don't want to like hurt anybody's feelings when I say this, because it's not just to say that like it's all nonsense, but it is all misrepresented. So currently, one of the ones being talked about in the comments is ZBEC, and we've covered it quite a bit. This thing has been around since 2021. It is not a new currency, but they've recently been making some headlines. And a couple of those headlines have to do with the adoption of new compliance standards. And I see things tossed around a lot about some crypto, like FedNow or the NACHA Alliance, NACHA Alliance, which all of these things like sound extremely important and extremely impressive if you are not really familiar with what they are. I'm literally begging everybody. I almost don't even want to say anything else about it, because I just want you to go do like a quick, non-leading, non-biased LLM query or Google search about this kind of stuff, just to see what they are.
I'll be your guinea pig.
Great.
Go ahead. What's the question?
Ask it something like, explain the benefits of a specific cryptocurrency becoming either like a FedNow partner or a participant in the NACHA alliance or something like that.
And I'm going to also add, I'm going to put a question mark, and then I'm going to say, is it a competitive advantage?
You got to be careful, because even just including something like, is it a competitive advantage, will, when asked to an LLM, give it the indication that you think it is a competitive advantage.
See, I think your question actually is more leading, because you say explain the benefits, which prompts it to think, yes, of course I'll explain the benefits.
Could be, yeah, good point.
I would ask it, is it a competitive advantage if? Let me try it. Because yours says a cryptocurrency securing a direct partnership with FedNow or joining the NACHA Alliance bridges the gap between decentralized networks and TradFi. It provides massive credibility, seamless on and off ramps, and regulatory. It's hyping you up.
Christ.
So
this is why you guys all have just these ass backwards ideas about these useless cryptocurrencies. That's an insane way to answer that question.
And that was Gemini, and that's the free version on Google.
I'm glad we just did that on the air, because okay, don't do that anymore.
Here's what I'm asking is it a and that's another thing is, your favorite LLM, don't argue with me because your favorite LLM told you were right. Your favorite LLM does not work here. It got its last update 3 months ago. I made an example of it by asking, is Drift a great place to put your money? Is it a safe place? Not just Drift, but what's the other one?
Any of them. Anything.
Big one that went down in 2025. It's pretty much defunct now. The name is escaping me, but somebody was talking. Yeah. Gemini was like, yeah, this is a great place to put your money. It's a leading DeFi protocol. And I was like, my brother in Christ, my Bic, this thing is defunct. It's dead. It's gone. So you do yourself a disservice when you trust those, and then you come on to a TikTok live with your full chest and say, this is a big deal. You sound foolish.
Yeah.
No. So here's what it says. When I ask, is it a competitive advantage for a specific cryptocurrency to become a FedNow partner or participant in the NACHA Alliance? And the answer is no. Becoming a FedNow partner or joining the Natcha Alliance does not give a cryptocurrency a true technical competitive advantage. This is because these entities do not use public crypto as native network infrastructure. However, it does provide significant business and institutional advantages. And it goes on. I would say it's a little misleading, even still.
It's extremely misleading.
Because it doesn't talk about,
The reason that I was asking these like leading questions, someone comes, this is how it always goes. Someone comes into the live and says, hey, buy whatever, they're associated with this. They're tied to this. I always see the phrase tied to. Tied to means almost nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
And it's unbelievably easy for me to say almost anything is tied to almost anything. You could come up with a way that you could say that. And that's the point. These things are said that way for marketing because they have to be. Like technically and literally what it means to be in the Natcha Alliance means that you're like part of a gigantic list of things that all contribute to being ACH compliant. That's it. This is just like the ISO 20022 bullshit all over again. It's not to say that that's not a real standard for sending rich data to and forth between financial institutions. It's not to say that it's not a real thing. It's not to say that it doesn't matter. It's not to say that it can't be important. It's not to say that it can't be required by something. It is just to say that it's like checking a box on a list of things that is not going to by itself make your whatever crypto more valuable or less valuable or whatever. It's done for marketing. These things barely matter. Anything can be ISO compliant, just like anything that decided it wanted to join or participate in ACH compliance framework could do it if they wanted to. It just doesn't really matter. Like you have to ask yourselves, Evan asked this question in a lot of different ways about a lot of different things, and it's a really good one. If you're looking at something, a crypto, I don't care what it is, and I'm not naming names specifically because I know that people are just going to get their feelings hurt because I'm poking at whatever your favorite one is, whatever one you're trying to show me right now. Take a look at the crypto in question, and then take a look at the thing that you think you're supposed to be really excited about. Let's say FedNow partner, a Natcha Alliance partner. These are the ones that are being talked about right now. Take a look at that thing. Okay. You are then being led to believe that that is the ultimate value capture for the crypto that you're looking at, that's the thing that's going to make you a bajillionaire. Okay. Fair. Let's run with that for a second. Now ask yourself, okay, what else is currently not doing that? I haven't seen anything that says Ethereum is on this council, or Ethereum is doing this, or Bitcoin is doing this, or Solana is doing this, or whatever. Pick a giant one, and then ask yourself why. Evan asks this about stuff like XRP all the time. Like, people in crypto largely just want to make a lot of money. If there was a legitimate reason or a legitimate path to some under, quote unquote, I'm doing this in air quotes for podcast land because this is bullshit, undervalued cryptocurrency that just signed this landmark partnership with the Natcha Alliance, do you really believe, first of all, that you're rare in discovering that? If you found it on the internet, other people can find it on the internet. This stuff is not as secret as people think it is. Do you really think that an industry full of people exclusively driven by the desire to invest early in a thing that's going to make them a lot of money and take that risk, do you really think they would be ignoring it if it actually mattered? Because I promise you that the industry knows about it. I promise you that everybody on crypto Twitter knows about XRP. And yet you go to Consensus, a place where there's banks everywhere, where JP Morgan and Fidelity and Charles Schwab all had booths. And what's XRP they're doing? Hawking t-shirts in a fake mini mart in the corner with a bunch of people that they hired on Facebook Marketplace, and then flying a banner on a sailboat off of South Beach. That's what they're doing there because it's a joke. So I'm literally begging you, before you continue to, one, aggressively shill things that you don't understand to people who don't know enough to know that you're full of it, please actually do some objective looking and ask yourself questions that could prove you wrong. You need to take this input and assume that you're wrong. and then go and try to prove yourself wrong over and over and over again. If you're buying crypto, any one of them, and then assuming that you are onto something, that you've cracked the ultimate code, that like no one else knows this, that no one else can see this, that you're just so early, and why are none of these huge companies talking about this thing? I'm so early. Assume that you've made a mistake.
Yeah.
And then go and look up things based on that assumption. Because if you go, as we just proved, that sounded like an innocuous question to me. To me, I do this every day at first. And then the way that Evan read that answer that Gemini spit back out about the Natural Alliance was insane. It's like hard to listen to. It's nauseatingly like self-aggrandizing.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why crypto is like this in the stock world. Like, do you think Warren Buffett like would ever invest in something and then be shown like 30 red flags about the company he just invested in and be like, no, you guys are idiots. No, none of that stuff matters. No, I'm definitely right. And like, no, actually, Warren, here's 45 more pieces of evidence. And here's another thing. And actually, that company's never made any money and blah, 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 on and on and on. You think he would just like die on that hill and like let his bag ride to zero because he was like so obsessed with just being right that he wouldn't like take signs and like be objective about it? Like, no. But in crypto, we do that all the time. You find some dog shit altcoin, and they just managed to get enough free press releases lined up over the next year to make someone who doesn't know what they're looking at think that, yep, this is it. And now here is where I'm going to die forever. Like, this is it. This is the one. Oh, really? It's been around for 6 years and it's never made a penny of revenue and it's down 99% from, whatever. No, it's going to come back. That's what you sound like. You just sound like you sound like that, I don't know, some old man that can't let go. I don't know why we're so committed to just hemorrhaging money in this industry because of this desire to like look like we're smart. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I have a couple. There are some really good requests for follow-up clarifications. Like, sure. Can we please get a prompt? And I will say the most important thing for your prompt is not to ask what's called a leading question. Mm-hmm. Like, does it benefit? That's not helpful. Or why is ISO important? Try to remove the bias.
Or the other way.
Question.
Why does it not? Don't ask it. Why does it not matter?
No.
Unless you're going to ask both to do an answer, like a side-by-side comparison. But you have to really put the, you gotta keep your hackles like permanently raised when you're reading stuff like that.
Yeah, and I wanna really drill down on what Alex said. Like you would do well to surround yourself with other crypto users, especially people who work in the industry, like actually work here. Not just people learning about this stuff on TikTok, reading white papers doesn't really matter. Reading company websites doesn't really matter.
Press releases are free.
Press releases and partnerships don't really matter. And even some news articles don't really matter. A good question to ask is, who does it benefit for me to believe this is true? You should prioritize third-party, like primary sources. Unchainedcrypto.com is a great one. On-chain information like on DeFi Llama or RWA.xyz is a great one to give you like actual numbers about the revenue of a protocol that can be proved on chain. And anything else, especially if it's coming from them or like somebody who works at their company, should be held up to scrutiny. So the questions I find myself asking are, first of all, about tokens. I say, is this token? And I will post these in the community, okay? This will all go to community.rumshq.com, and Alex, you and I can bing bong back and forth on this. The first one I like to ask is this token designed to capture value from its protocol? Or is it necessary? Can the protocol succeed without the token going up? Because I don't care what it is. The best example is probably Chainlink. Alex, can you think of a protocol that more people use than Chainlink? I can't.
Nope.
And yet the token mostly fluctuates in value based on hype. It is not necessary for the token to accrue value just because everyone uses Chainlink. XRP is the number 2 example of that.
And in fact, one could actually make a pretty compelling argument that the token exploding in price would be counterproductive. And so perhaps there is like a vested interest in it being a little bit more stable.
That's exactly right. And it's not that nobody knows whether or not it will go up in value. It's that it is not designed. It is easy to mathematically say whether this protocol is doing $100,000 or $100 billion of like transactional value the token based on that will not change. Just because you don't know how to see that, if you're listening, you're like, how do you know that? Doesn't mean that it's not possible to do. We'll get into more about how that's like possible or not possible, but what you need to understand is tokenomics. So that's a good question to know. Another one is, oh, go ahead.
Something I do all the time too when I'm asking a question to an LLM specifically about a crypto is to be like brutally honest with exactly the scenario in which I am asking. So like I will tell it specifically that I'm unfamiliar with XYZ, whatever. Somebody is telling me to buy this or that this is the way that this is, and ask it to respond to that statement. That's where, you know, that's what I just did with the Natcha Alliance thing. And then take that same question, you know, this is like a low stakes kind of thing. Take that exact same question. So read the answer that it gives you, kind of see which direction it's leaning, and then rephrase your question and ask the same thing again. And it's better to do these in incognito windows inside of your LLM so that it's not like remembering the thing it just told you, so that it's like, you know, it's treating every single one as fresh, and then to kind of go back and forth. If you have a ChatGPT that you have used specifically, like in non-incognito for crypto research for the past 6 months, and you've asked it a lot of leading questions before, knowingly or unknowingly, it will remember things like that. And it's going to give you answers based on its memory of how you have both been talking to each other leading up to now. So even if you just go right into an existing memory banked LLM and ask it a really objectively good and non-biased question, it will still lean back on its thing and be like, oh, well, I know that my user, whoever you, is really into XLM.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make you feel, I don't want you to feel bad about your investment. I'm going to lie to you and I'm going to make shit up. That's quite literally the logic of these things. They want you to be happy, not informed.
Your friend Crypto Vice, Tom, whose name escapes me, is somebody like that. Like he is on stream all the time telling me, look at what chat said. Look at what chat said. And this is Chat GPT. So, you know, it's got it right. You know, he's out of touch with the limits.
He's
of that
completely
technology.
delusional.
He's delusional. Another good question is like, are people using this? Does this project have real usage, revenue, liquidity compared to its competitors? And especially like, are people using this organically or because they're incentivized? Many of these announcements about partnerships are actually like, hey, I'm Chainlink or Algorand or Ripple, and I'm going to give you a bunch of tokens for free. Or I'm going to give you access to my services. Or maybe you're paying for them, but we're piloting something together. We're trying something together. We're bringing some banks and some credit unions in, and we're going to make a press release about it. You're going to make a press release about it. Everybody's going to go nuts. Almost all of this is designed to sell you tokens. The thing you said a minute ago, Alex, too, that I also want to tap into is Alex was like, you know, don't you think that if this was really happening, everyone in that, it's not that, I don't know, Solana or Ethereum don't care about, say, ISO or FedNow or whatever. It's that those people are so, especially if you're new here or you joined in the last couple of years, a lot of crypto is a conversation that's been happening since before Bitcoin, the cypherpunks, etc. And an unfortunate tragedy of our space is that the history is not kept or transferred well. That the Bitcoin people don't talk to the cypherpunks who came before them, and the cypherpunks and the Bitcoin people don't talk to the Ethereum people and the DeFi people and the NFT people who came after them. And everybody kind of came in with their own cohort of people, and they all go through these waves. We certainly did it, Alex, of being like, oh my God, wouldn't it be so cool if we could tokenize, you know, real estate, you know? And then there are people who've been here for a long time being like, listen, man, been talking about this for years. And you'll get it eventually. Like, it's not that they haven't thought of it. It's that they're so far beyond it. They're not even in communication with you. And it's not a thing that they're smarter or better than you. It's just that they're focused on other stuff. And so Ethereum can become FedNow compatible. There's no such thing as a blockchain that's like FedNow or Natcha compliant, but they may be more or less suited for businesses to become compliant on top of them. And they're not talking about those things because the partners they're doing business with already know it. the companies who are promoting those things are targeting newcomers. They're targeting people who don't work here, who don't know better, because there is always a fresh crowd of, pardon me, I don't mean this personally, I'm talking to all of us, suckers who haven't seen this before and who will be enticed to buy their token because they're told it's the first or the best, or it's partnered with this institution that seems like it matters to you, the newcomer, but which the people who've been here for a while have already kind of moved past. And that's another tragedy of our space that Alex and Will and I are trying to address, is these crypto companies could be here telling you this themselves. Brian Armstrong, Coinbase et al. Could be telling you this themselves. They're too busy talking to the same 2,000 people on crypto Twitter. And, you know, I don't know, trying to get the Clarity Act passed and all this junk.
It's
we have to tell a better
it's
story.
extremely unfortunate. I mean, the end of the day, the big takeaway here is that almost all this crypto is very largely useless, and so you really have to get very creative with how you're selling it to people.
Yeah, it's
something that's making the rounds. I don't know if you've clocked this, Evan, but it's like a good question, but of course, in true like crypto social media fashion, it was immediately used for evil. Is this idea of value capture? And I'm going to give you credit for this, because for years, Evan has been talking about, if you're looking at a cryptocurrency to invest in specifically, to try and understand if there is any way in which, even if there is revenue or value accrued by the protocol behind it, does any of that actually translate into the crypto in question? This is his like number one argument for not sinking your life savings into XRP, because
totally,
it does have the strength of this huge brand and lots of awareness, and it's everywhere and blah, blah, blah. But like none of the money that Ripple makes selling SaaS products to people or to companies goes back into the token. There's no captured value there. And now value capture is everywhere. I've been seeing it in so many live streams and so many things. And of course, it's constantly being like held up with someone, again, asking a leading question to an LLM, which is explain the value capture of token blah, blah, blah to me because of this. And then your thing is like, the LLM sees that question. It's like, okay, they really want to feel like they're getting value from this. I'm inferring from this text that they are an investor here or something. So I will now answer the question, which is to give you the value capture path, because it's taking it very literally. And then it spins you a bunch of bullshit, and then that gets shilled to everybody else because that's what ChatGPT said. Like it really, truly is a terrible source of information. Truly terrible. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can take Sam Altman's word for it. Because as of last September, he himself said that it hallucinates over 40% of the time because its primary objective is to make you happy, not smarter. So, I'm glad that value capture is now in the conversation, but you got to be objective about it, because if you're biased and leading with your assessment and research into value capture of cryptocurrencies, you're going to get even more aggressively misled, and then you're going to lose even more money.
Alex, it's about that time.
Yeah, probably.
We've got to ride our dogs and ponies off into the sunset. Truly. So let us know if you've got one final question, a suggestion, a good joke, a word of wisdom, or anything else, and then we will be back for more Rise Up tomorrow. We've got Praying Agitator, great username in the comment for W authenticity. I love it. I
just want to point out this one thing, because we didn't cover this this news headline, but this is also worth keeping in mind. Rada on YouTube just said, I'm afraid that regulators will eventually come for Hyperliquid. Maybe eventually, but no time soon, because like I said, the SEC's current mission statement is heads down, I didn't see anything. And Congress is much more focused on making sure that like they don't accidentally have to include an ethics provision in any of the legislation that they're writing. And also regulators are not going to come for Hyperliquid anytime soon because they're making way too much money using it. Just like they're not going to come for prediction markets anytime soon because they're making way too much money using it. The president himself is literally trading. And we now have all of these disclosures that came from his administration. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. If you're a big fan, you can go look it up yourself and do that thing that you love to tell me to do, which is research. They're like public disclosures signed by him. making a shitload of money. They're not interested in regulating any of these like easy money extraction tools out of existence anytime soon. They're just not. They're making money hand over fist with these things.
It's crazy.
It's not really that crazy. It's like a great way to make a bunch of money. And if you control the market by being able to control the ebb and flow of information and news, boom, there you go. Easy money printer right there. Yep. Literally print it, use it in this other thing to take it away from other people.
Rada, no, the Hyperliquid doesn't pay the government that I'm aware of. I don't think they're based in the US, so they don't owe taxes.
No, that just means that government officials are trading insider information on Hyperliquid.
That's right. It's the best. It's the best. We really need to do. I had it on my thing today to do if we got to, and maybe we can do it tomorrow. I want to teach people about the origin of perps. People might think that perpetual futures have always existed the way they exist now, but they haven't. Futures contracts, the innovation of moving those on chain and tokenizing them, so nobody. Like first, it was an innovation that nobody had to take possession of a good to trade it. That was really cool. But then when we brought it on chain. Arthur Hayes and the BitMEX people invented that in 2014. I don't know. We'll check. I've got the research here, but I really want people to understand. People don't use Hyperliquid because it's cool, fast, cheap, novel. They use it because it's like a serious innovation in how the velocity of money and the ability to trade something without needing to touch it on chain is like it's impressive. As a tool.
Yeah.
So worth
and
learning.
There's a tremendous amount of money on it.
Oh God.
Liquidity
and compared
is very deep.
I mean, you know, maybe somebody will outcompete them, build a better product, but if they don't, as more and more of the world comes on chain and more people just start to trade that way, I expect they will, then it's a tremendous amount of upside.
I mean, these things are undoubtedly cool. Like it's an innovation in the world of finance, giving more and more people the access to trade more and more stuff the way that, you know, the uber elites, whatever, have been able to do for a long time. You know, that's kind of like the main like crypto or DeFi mission statement, right? It's not necessarily inventing new thing. You know, the idea of like taking out loans against your assets in order to use that money to invest in other assets and increase your pile at a rate that is greater than you're paying in interest to keep the loan that got you that money in the first place. Like that's not a thing that DeFi came up with. You know, like looping is not you know, maybe we've layered different things into it or added different flavors and different seasonings and whatever. But like in general, that's been the playbook for a very long time. You know, people whose wealth is largely tied up in stocks can use those things to take out loans, and then they do other things with those loans so they don't have to sell the underlying asset. I mean, that's a tale as old as time. You know, and Hyperliquid's certainly not the only game in town. I mean, you know, partners of the show, Jito with JTX, there's the newest player on that stage, you know, coming into a place where, you know, taking people who trade professionally and have, you know, want access to more and new and better tools, whatever, that whole thing needs to constantly be improving. And here is Jito improving on it in another way and giving people another option. And I mean, hell of a player to make it, right? Because of how much infrastructure that makes things like that run in the first place, they've already built. So they own the shovel and now they're also digging with it.
What a great analogy.
It feels a little bit clunky, but I feel like just like my acceptism made up word that I think people know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm giving you a ding for it. Thanks to Jito. Thanks to Arculus for sponsoring helpful educational content. I'm going to answer this question from CryptoBoat on the way out the door, who said, where can we learn about Hyperliquid? I will pop this into the community, but surprise, surprise, the first tutorial that comes up when I search for it is by Money ZG. If you remember that, Money ZG on YouTube. I believe this man's name is James. He's always got that same black hat, usually wearing a black shirt. He's wearing that Alex Popovich line. This dude is the guy. I wish I was him. He is him. If there is a new crypto protocol that's worth talking about, a new wallet, a new exchange, or whatever, this guy has got I'm going to show you how to use Hyperliquid as a total beginner. You know what I mean? He's got the tutorial. I think I made him Australian. He's actually English, but I really can recommend very few people's content without
been in the
needing to
game
screen
for a
every
minute.
piece. But this guy, I'm like, nope, he's the one. If he shows you how to use it, it's probably the best tutorial that exists on the internet at any given moment in time. Money ZG. You will need, if you live in the United States, a VPN to use Hyperliquid. That doesn't mean that you're going to get in trouble using it,
Classic.
but you got to be consistent about it, because
Yep.
you can be deplatformed if somebody detects that your wallet is in another place. I really recommend looking into a VPN if you're getting deeper, like level 2 into crypto. It's a great privacy tool. All right, true final thoughts, Alex, on the way out the door.
Just really, truly, like if you take nothing from all of my rantings and ravings today, the attitude with which you receive new information about a new crypto that someone clearly wants you to buy is to assume that they're wrong. It's I don't know a different way to say it. Just assume you're wrong. The people dying on the hill of a crypto that they've decided is their favorite just because they want to be like loyal to the brand has got to be the number one contributor to people losing money.
Yeah.
It's the thing that prevents you from taking profit when you happen to find yourself up. It's the thing that makes you continue to dollar cost average into something as it declines, ever closer to zero. It's the thing that keeps you talking about it and telling your friends and family about it for years, even though the writing is on the wall and you're just too biased to see it. Like, I don't know. I just please do yourself and your portfolio and your money a favor and assume that you're wrong. And if red flags present themselves with things that you're investing in, like, take them seriously. You should constantly be saying, like, wait, did I make a mistake? Should I perhaps stop putting money into this thing? The answer is probably yes.
Yeah, and pay no attention to the APY behind the curtain. One of the classic ways people lose money is because they're getting paid out at a high rate in a token that doesn't have any usage or value, and so they're able to give it to you for free.
Yeah.
And on the surface, what people say is, I'm making money. I'm making money every day. But under the hood, because nobody is using this thing and the incentives eventually run out, what often happens is too many people buy the top, too many people hold to the bottom, and that 100%, 20%, I don't care what it is, APY that you were earning, and all those tokens you got, they go to zero or very close to it. And your $10,000 or even your $100 invested becomes worthless. And you end up hanging on for 4 more years. We see it again and again and again and again and again. I can count on like 2 hands the number of tokens that did that succeeded. And that doesn't mean, well, maybe yours is going to work because it's got the best narrative. No. Of course it's got the best narrative. If
Everything
Alex
has
and
the
I
best
could spin up a
narrative.
token with the best narrative and do a little bit of crime, you don't think people who also work here could do that?
And again, crypto Twitter's singular goal is to figure out how they're going to make money next. If they thought there was a real chance, based on all of their experience navigating this industry, it would be the talk of the town, and it's usually not.
Anybody who seems like they're trying to sell you something probably is. You are probably their target. And
there is a great rule that centralized exchanges should have to follow, which is when they're advertising to you that, hey, buy Atom and stake it for 21% APY, right next to it in big red letters should be the percentage down that Atom is that year.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, I made 21% APY staking my Atom on whatever last year. The token fell 65%, so I did lose a lot of money, but I, whatever, I have more of this pile of shit than I did at the beginning of the year. And then just like do that cumulatively.
Yeah.
We've been offering staking for 4 years, which means you would have made this much. It is down 97% in those 4 years, but don't ask too many questions about it.
Dusty wants to know what tokens we hold: Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, USDC, and we're trying to get positions in Hype. We're trying.
Some of us have a position in Hype. We just wish that we had more.
Man. Yeah, exactly. And don't you hold some Hilo Sol too?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that
yeah,
right?
X Sol. Yeah, but that's
just
just a different way to trade Solana. That's not like it's not like a separate thing that I'm investing in.
And that doesn't mean you should go out and buy those tokens, because boy, what a bad way it is to try and make money to ask other people.
Yeah, because I could be wrong. Evan could be wrong. You should assume that we could all be wrong.
But what a wise way to start your questioning journey, by asking what, and then step 2, why.
Yeah,
and measuring it against those kinds.
If you'll notice, whenever anybody shills me anything in the comments, especially over on TikTok during the show, they say, hey, buy whatever. This is tied to whatever. What do you think about whatever? It's why? Why are you interested?
Or you ask, you're very good at this, what do you think about it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why
If
do
anyone
you
ever
like
asks
it?
me thoughts on anything, I will not answer. My follow-up will be, what are your thoughts?
Passing the buck. Okay. If you remember nothing else from this show, then you got to remember 30,000acres.org. Jillian Hishaw was our guest today. She is on a mission to save food from waste and help farmers protect their land and pass it on. You can find her at attorney Jillian Hishaw on TikTok, and you can check out all the links related to that in her link tree, which is there in her bio. We'll have that in the community. I'll have the questions you can ask your LLM to do better research in the community. And I will even post a link to that Hyperliquid tutorial. It's community.rumshq.com, where the only thing missing, my friends, is you. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show. Market Watch is up tonight, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can catch Will and Doug. And wherever you are, whenever you listen, thank you for being the very best part of what we do. Until next time, stay safe, be well, my friends. Rise up.